team that was deployed. We know also that 3 have been shot in the leg. This evening, the Volta Regional Coordinating Council also has a statement in which they name another secessionist group, Western Togoland Restoration Front. So, do we have 2 separate secessionist groups operating in that part of the country, or even more? We summarize for you the story so far and analyze the situation, which unfolded dramatically before our eyes this morning, as analysts call for resignation of the National Security Minister and more information from the state for the citizenry. My name is Gifty Ando-Apia, and this is a special security edition of the PM Express. Statements have been issued. The Council of State, the Volta Regional Coordinating Council, and the Joint Police and Armed Forces statement, which essentially catalogues what happened and what the state has done about it. I'll be joined by head of the Volta Regional Security Council and Regional Minister Dr. Archibald Letsa, leader of the Volta Caucus, that's MPs for the area, security analyst Colonel Festus Abwaje, and we'll have the Defense Minister Dominic Niti will join on the back of the joint statement that has been released by the police and the Ghana Armed Forces. So let's take a look at the highlight of what the police and armed forces say they did today. So essentially, they say that this statement, by the way, it's issued by the police and the service because they worked together earlier this morning. Second point to note is that at dawn this day, which is Friday, 25th of September, the police actually list the Homeland Study Group Foundation as attacking the Aveyime and Mefe police stations and mounted roadblocks on the Japan, Accra and Sogakope Accra main roads, thereby disrupting the daily routine of the citizenry. The third point is that the security agencies want all Ghanaians to know that the situation has been brought under control. Now, it goes on to give you more details. It says that the joint police and military team and other security agencies were essentially deployed on the ground to these affected areas. 31 members of the group were arrested and brought to Accra for interrogation, and we'll bring you a lot more details on that as we go along. But how did these people, those who were arrested, we also know that there were others that were injured and another that was shot. The police and the armed forces say that there was a fire exchange between the group and the security agencies, and that led to the death of one member of the HSGF, injuring 3 others who we are told were shot in the leg. Now, the 7th point to note in the statement that the Ghana Armed Forces and the police have issued is that the police commander at Aveyime was also wounded. If you remember this morning, there were reports that he was apprehended. He was taken in by these secessionists. Now, he was wounded and he has been evacuated to the police hospital. Now, the wounded members of the HSGF members have also been evacuated to the whole teaching hospital. So hopefully we'll get the minister to give us an update on these ones as well. The 8th point, and there are 10 points that we put together for you. The 8th point here is that all the roadblocks as we speak have been cleared, and the security agencies have taken control of the highways as well as the other strategic installations within the region, which is, of course, one of the key things to do in such situations any security agency does. Now, the last 2 points, I take you through the last 2 points. It says that it is hereby stated that an earlier preemptive operation on Thursday, 24th of September 2010, to ban the whole central market and other key installation was for. Now, this is fresh information that the police and the armed forces are releasing to all of us. We didn't know this earlier. They're telling us that there was an attempt to burn down the whole central market and other key installations. They say that attempt was for. We'll get some clarification, hopefully, on that as well. Now, the final point that the Ghana Armed Forces and the police wants you to know is to remain calm. They want you also to volunteer information. And on top of that, they're saying they have an assurance for the general public, and that is for you to know that security and intelligence agencies are in firm control of the situation and remain undaunted in their resolve at preserving and protecting the sanctity of the country. So that's the 10 points from the release, or the statement released by the a joint statement released by the Ghana Armed Forces and the Ghana Police Service. Like I said, we'll be having a conversation on all of this. We're going to start our conversation looking at the story so far, what happened today. And I'll be welcoming my guests who will be joining me via Zoom, some on the telephone, so we'll have this conversation. But first, let's take a look at how it started. Burning of tires and the people rioting, essentially cutting off the community from the others. There was a referendum. That referendum was essentially to look at the territory, the trust territories. Now, these trust territories were in the trust, if you like, of they were called the UN trust territory. So the remaining UN trust territory. And the offer was to either join Ghana or remain a trust territory. Or to remain a trust territory. Now, the result of that referendum indicates that 58% voted in favor of joining Ghana. The secessionist groups, of course, they disagree, and they have been fighting it ever since. The point that they make is that they say that the referendum was rigged. And this is a little bit of a background to what actually happened. But there are just a few facts to note, and I give you the few facts. Well, the facts that are available is that this area, this Western Togoland, encompasses the areas around Volta, Oti, Northern Region, Northeast Region, and the Upper East Region. So that's the Western Togoland area. The Western Togoland, by the way, has been a member state of the Unrepresented Nations and Peoples Organization since 2017. Our analysts will help us understand the implications of the Western Togoland's membership of this particular group. We'll tell you about a little bit more of that when we return. Welcome and many thanks for joining us on this special edition focusing on security of PM Express. Let's begin from how it started. But first, let me let you know that our analyst has joined us on Zoom. I have Festus Abwaje, Colonel Festus Abwaje, retired, who is joining us for this conversation. Colonel, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thanks for having me, please.
All right. So, like I said, we start from where it started earlier today, burning of tires.
The Sogakope, this is the Sogakope barrier. Immediately you cross the bridge. This is it. All the cars from the Aflau stretch or the Sogakope township headed towards Accra have had to park. They have had to park because ahead of them, Dover, Potame area, that is where the Western Togoland guys have blocked the road. So no car is able to proceed beyond the barrier, which is just before the bridge. I've spoken with a few guys, and they have indicated that the police are even helpless. The police.
So that's how it started, leading to disruption of daily activities for residents there. But then this is how it ended today, when 31 of them were arrested and flown to Accra for interrogation.
Here at the Ghana Air Force Base, I mean, clearly here is the tarmac, and just behind me is the aircraft or the helicopter or the helo, as you want to put it, that brought in the 31 suspected members of the Homeland Steady Foundation, or those we call the Western Togoland, those who are seeking independence for the Volta region. Now, these individuals were brought in two badges. First of all, 16 of them were brought in earlier, and the remainder, that's 15 of them, were later brought in. Now, the protocols were quite simple. Okay, so as you can see, they are just descending one after the other, one by one. The military men are escorting them as they descend, one after the other, one by one. So these are the men. These are the men who are allegedly behind the Western Togoland, and the police just brought them here, and as you can see, they've asked them to sit down right on the platform where the I've seen a female. I've seen just one lady here. She doesn't look too good. She's crying. She looks very sad. In the yellow top, she looks very, very sad. When they were brought in, the military men put together with the Ghana Police Service, especially the CID, took them through the process. In fact, they asked them to sit down on the platform here, right here, and they asked for their details and also search their bags. Interestingly, some of the people who were brought in were holding the new voters ID card. In fact, they had in possession the new voters ID card. Some of them also had the Western Togoland flag, and the police asked them to even wave it to the media. Also, we noticed that among the 31 men who were arrested,
so those are excerpts of the report that Kwesi Parker wasn't put together at the Air Force Base today when they were brought in. I guess for tonight, Dr. Archibald Letsa is the regional minister, the Volta regional minister, who essentially heads the Security Council for the region. I also have Colonel Festus Abuaje, who's a security expert, joining me for this discussion. Dr. Letsa, thank you for your time this evening. Doc, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Right. Thank you for your time. So the Volta Regional Coordinating Council has just issued a statement. And before I bring Festus Abuaje in, Colonel Festus Abuaje in, I just want to get some clarification from you. In your statement, you mentioned another secessionist group, which is different from the homeland group that we know. This is called the Western Togoland Restoration Front. So are we dealing with two different or two separate secessionist groups in the region?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is a new development. We started with the Western Togoland study group, but since then we have had some splinter groups developing, and the Western Togoland study group was led by Safari. But this restoration group is being led by Togbe Yesu the First. And there's another group. So we have three splinter groups now that we're dealing with. This particular one, but they are all offsprings of the same group. But there are some differences among them. So this group appears to be more militant than the previous one. And we've been trying to deal with them as such.
So there are three separate secessionist groups that you're dealing with right now. You say that they are all offspring of the previous one, but this particular group is more militarized. How long have you known about these groups operating in your region, sir?
Sorry, we've been monitoring them for some time. Now.
How long would you say?
Oh, over 2 years.
For over 2 years. Okay, so then it brings into question, you know, the issues that have been raised, that this is a fundamental intelligence flaw on the part of people who are in charge of security, which you lead in the region.
Oh, not so. There are a lot of details that will not be appropriate for me to disclose. These are purely security issues. This is a group that we've been dealing with since 2017, and if you can recall, there have been several arrests and trials. As I speak to you right now, there are lots of them in custody, and they are standing trial at the circuit court in Ho. So a few are also on trial in Accra. So we always have calls to discuss the activities. We have a lot of intelligence, and even 3 days ago, we had a recent meeting to discuss intelligence that we had gathered, and we put everything in place. We were aware that there was going to be some activities last night, and we had to protect some vital installations to make sure that the economy of the region is not adversely affected. So we actually were able to prevent some more serious attacks that were planned by this group. And so they had to go. If you remember, some few weeks ago, the Western flags and billboards around Asuchare, Kuse area in the eastern and Greater Accra regions. So it is the same group that plans setting attacks on some vital installations. You recall that today they were even with the Pong hydroelectric plant. So much as we were aware that they even planned some roadblocks, we're not sure where the roadblocks were, but the targets that the installations that were targeted were more vital. So when the roadblocks began, we also thought that it was a diversionary tactics to take our eyes off the ball. So we still focused on the primary targets that we identified. And later we had to move in to get the roads cleared with minimum loss of life. And we got people arrested, and the injured are also receiving medical treatment. Unfortunately, we lost one person.
Yeah.
But so a lot has gone on.
Right, Doc. I want us to. We'll take our time to break it down and look at it, in steps. But let me just bring Colonel Abuaji in at this point. Colonel, thanks for your patience and thanks so much once again. Now, earlier today, I spoke with you, and your concern was that the state is not giving the citizenry enough information, leading to what you described as winning of the war by if you like, with propaganda by this particular group. This evening, they have released a statement that is jointly released by the Ghana Police and the Ghana Armed Forces. And I broke it down in 10 bullets. Does this suffice? I think you're muted again.
Well, hello, can you hear me?
Perfectly. Please go ahead.
Yes. What happened this morning is an escalation of sorts. It's similar to the establishment of the training base that we uncovered a few weeks back. This time, there's been a direct occupation or seizure of very strategic installations, economically as well as security. So you mentioned is it a Kuse or Pond Dam? Then you mentioned the attack on the Aveime police station. They have escalated, their actions. It is not sufficient for the Ministry of Defense to respond to this development since 2017. There must be a very high-level political statement that frames the issue. And then after that, maybe some of the other security services could deal with some operational aspects. I don't think it is appropriate and sufficient today for the Ministry of Defense to speak on behalf of the political class or the government as such. There is still need for somebody in the political hierarchy, preferably maybe the president or the Minister for National Security or the Minister for, if you like, Interior, to speak to this issue.
So you are saying
frame the security issues. They don't need to tell us the nitty-gritty, but the nitty-gritty that they know about, the structure of this group or their structures, their political objectives, their security objectives, their military objectives, should frame a government strategy that the government must share with the entire population and educate everybody about what it is that the government is doing. But this silence, since March 2017 is creating more harm. And I said in the morning that a component of this situation, of this battle, is the information war or the information campaign. The secessionists have won that phase completely. Everybody knows about them, understands them, and hardly anybody knows about what the Ghana position is and what the Ghana response is. We need to do something, and very urgently.
Okay, we'll talk about what we need to do. If you listen to the minister, the regional minister, he says that some arrests have been made, and we have a list of the case, you know, the court cases and the arrests that have been made over the period, at least starting from March up until now, and what has been done essentially. But if I get you right, you're saying that this statement released together with the Ghana Police Service and the Armed Forces, it does not suffice. You want to hear somebody like the President or the Minister of National Security. What really will that solve?
You see, one of the statements that I read, in the caption of that statement had in brackets rebels. We might take it lightly that the usage of rebels is understood, but it is a strategic reference to the group. So when did we get from miscreants, rabble-rousers, secessionists, to rebels, and next time to insurgency? It is the government that must frame this narrative and give us a sense of where we are in this conflict. Are we in the dispute phase where they're probably raising awareness about their group, their objectives, and so on? Or are they militarizing? And indeed, there is evidence to show that they have militarized. So how do you refer to a group that wants to secede, which establishes a training camp on the sovereign territory of a state, and this time around attacks a police station, which is one of the security infrastructure that we have, and also sees, you know, a vital installation like the Conda? In that government statement, they will choose their words carefully based on the security issues that they are aware of, to try and educate Ghanaians that what we are dealing with now is in a kind of low intensity, whatever it is, or we are still in the purely dispute phase. But the government is taking measures to ensure that it doesn't get militarized beyond what it is now. It is not sufficient, I think, for the Ministry of Defense and the police hierarchy to just issue a statement without even any person, you know, engaging with the media to answer questions. Well, the media speaks on behalf of the population.
I mean, we had on the bill today the defense minister to help us, you know, clarify some of the issues that have been raised in this particular statement. He had indicated that he has had to, there's a development and he has had to rush into a meeting. But we're still trying to call him to see if he can spare us just a few minutes within that meeting to still talk to us and get the clarification. But good for us, we have Dr. Archibald Letsa here to perhaps speak on the back of this. Dr. Letsa, I'm bringing you back in. A little too late, or too little too late, because at the time that your men or reinforcement was sent, a police commander, a whole police commander, and his entire station was ransacked. And you see that those videos there, terrible. They've been ransacked, and as we speak, the statement tells us they are in hospital. It could have been worse. You say that you have been monitoring this group for a while, and so you expected some of these things to happen. How did it sort of blow up like this without your ability to curtail it so that a whole commander, police commander, would not be, you know, taken in by a group like this?
Thank you very much for your question. I have said already, I've listened to the security experts on the show, but I've said already that a lot of things are going on. And I said already that intelligence peaks pointed to certain very vital installation, which we try to protect overnight, and we are still protecting until now. So the roadblocks in the Juapong and the roadblocks in the Bahema area and the roadblocks in in the Southtown area, where even though we were aware that they planned some roadblocks, we were not sure the exact locations. But what I would say is that without mentioning the targets that they actually planned to attack last night, I would say that it would have been worse if the security services were not on top of the issue. And when we heard at dawn that the roads were blocked, the security forces were mobilized, but they had to use their experience and their expertise to decide when to move in and when not to move in order to reduce the level of the number of casualties. And at the end of the day, the highways were cleared. I want to thank the communities in the Mepe who were also supportive of the police. When the divisional commander heard that the police station was under attack, that was when he was going in to find out what was going on before he was also caught in the... he was also kidnapped with his driver. But at the end of the day, we managed to rescue them and send them to the hospital, and they are doing well. So something worse would have happened, but for the vigilance of the security agencies, we are satisfied that we've done our best to protect vital installations that were targeted by this group, and we are still doing so. We have learned lessons and met this afternoon, and we've also put strategies in place together with the national security to avert any further escalation of the situation. But I'd like to assure everybody in the region that they can go about their normal duties without any fear of attack. I want to assure the people of Ghana the majority of citizens of Volta region are not supportive of what these groups are doing. We'll do our best to make sure that we don't have the situation escalating.
Well, the statement also says that on the 24th of September, which is essentially yesterday, that the security agencies were able to foil a plan by the group to burn the whole central markets and other key installations. What do you say to those who say this is just something to move people from the discussion that the security agencies have actually failed? You know, the intelligence failed and this happened. And so this is just essentially something you're saying to make it look like you did something. What is the evidence that there was an actual plan to burn down the whole central markets and other installation which you foiled?
Yeah, there is evidence. We have intelligence, and you can verify that 4 people were arrested yesterday. 4 people were arrested yesterday in Ho, and they are in custody. And we had to be vigilant throughout the night to prevent the attacks on some of these installations. The market was mentioned, but there are other installations that were also targeted, which for one reason or the other, we don't want to be suggestive of targets to other groups. So we are careful not to disclose all of them. But because we are still protecting them, and we don't want our agents to be under any attack. So we do our best to handle the situation. And going forward, we think that we would make sure that there is no escalation, that there's peace in the region and other parts very close to our region. Going
forward, I want us to focus, narrow in on what we do about these 3 secessionist groups who, which perhaps will be recruiting other people. But Kennel, please let me bring you in again at this point. The security agencies are essentially saying that there is something we did because it could have been worse. He says 4 people were arrested yesterday who were planning to burn the whole central markets and other key installations, as they put it. From where you sit, if you were to wrap up on this part of the conversation, would you say that this is just essentially a flawed way of dealing with our intelligence that we should honestly and introspectively look at dealing with, and even how we can deal with it going forward? Or should we just assume that everything we're being fed with at this point is the truth?
Well, the Honorable Regional Minister may be right in that assessment, but he may also be wrong. Look, these guys are not stupid. A rebel group or a secessionist group will not go around destroying infrastructure that brings hardship to its own people. They will do that, but at a later stage. So it could have been a diversionary tactic to draw their attention away from that vital strategic installation of Pond Dam. The Pond Dam goes down, assuming that it was destroyed to some extent. It brings more hardship to all Ghanaians. That whole market serves the locals, and the locals are the weathermen, who benefit from it. So, yes, let's grant him the benefit of the doubt, but it may very well be that they also succeeded in diverting attention, like he admitted that the roadblocks were probably part of the plan, but to draw attention away from other higher objectives. Having said that, the impression I get is on this the intelligence debate.
But Keno, if I may just jump in there, he indicates that once they realized this and knew that it could be a tactic to, derail their efforts, that they went in to protect these key installations, which is, a key move to make in situations like this. So
they went in to protect the whole market, not the Pond Dam. The Pond Dam had the men on the installation. It was only when the naval personnel arrived from the naval base at Sogakope or wherever that they were able to dislodge them completely. But what I'm trying to suggest is that it would appear that in terms of intelligence, the group's counterintelligence, that is the other part of intelligence where you make it extremely difficult for anybody to know what you are about, that they have succeeded. But they had this general idea that something was going to happen, but they couldn't specifically determine what was going to happen, meaning that the group had built in their security operations a certain, barrier to make it difficult for the Ghanaian authorities to find out exactly what they are going to do. The suggestion that I've been making is that by this time, we use the word infested in military studies. That Volta region or T region areas should have been infested with intelligence. Actually, it more or less a police region where the intelligence is everywhere. And anybody who coughs, before you even cough, you are known that you are coughing. The impression I get is that that is not what is happening.
Okay.
But beyond the intelligence, we need the security presence. I made reference to 1957, when General Ankara was then a major and was deployed to go and command an operation. He stayed in place for 6 weeks in the Pando district, Pando and O. He was there for 6 weeks to make sure that all the rebels called Tolimo Liberation Movement had been arrested, their infrastructure dismantled, before he was recalled to Accra. What we're doing now is a cat and mouse game. They pop up here, then we go in, we make a few arrests, we bring them to Accra, we slap them on the wrist, we send them back. You see, and cat and mouse tactics will not help us. We need to be, as much as possible, close to what is going to happen and have all the plans and the resources to address whatever it is that these guys are planning. It is doable, but we need to invest resources, more into containing and defeating or degrading the threat than is currently the case.
We want to take a very short break here. Like we've advertised, we were able to speak to Emmanuel Bedra, who speaks for the Voter Caucus. We're trying to reach him. The Defense Minister, Nitiwu, also has had to rush into a meeting. He says we're still trying to reach him. But when we come back from this break, we want to talk about is there even the faintest possibility of being able to predict the next move of groups like this? Now that we know that it's not just one group, but we're dealing with at least 3 groups with the possibility of, recruiting more, what can we do Is there the possibility of predicting their next moves? And should we, as a country, dialogue with a group like this, or should we just show state might and clear them out and say this is an act against the sovereignty of the nation? How do we win the hearts and minds of people if we need to do this? Also, Dr. Letsa spoke about how they have dealt with this secessionist group. We have a list of the case and how it's been handled by the state. We'll talk about that when we return from this break. Do stay with us. You're welcome back. This is a special PM Express edition. We're focusing on security, looking at what is happening in the Volta region with the secessionist groups. I have on the phone the regional minister, the Volta regional minister, Dr. Archibald Letsa, who also heads the Regional Security Council, who is joining us via phone. Thank you for staying with us, Doc. I also have via Zoom Colonel Festus Abwaje, who is a security expert. We're expecting Emmanuel Bedra, who is on the Volta caucus, to also speak to us on this. So we're looking at this situation. Now we know we're dealing with different groups now. How do we move on? Where do we go from here? And is there the slightest or faintest possibility that we can predict their next move? Dr. Letsa spoke about how we have dealt with this group. So let's take you through the journey of how this group has been handled, starting from March 2007. So the members were arrested. They were led by 2017, I beg your pardon, Charles Komiku Joji, who is 78, and now he's actually older than that. He's a founder of the group. There's also a 57-year-old Martin Esiama Agbenu and Divine Odonko, 65 years old. They were all arrested and charged with treason. By July 2017, the state has dropped the charges against them, and the judge make some statement. Now, in May 2019, last year, 9 members were arrested again. They were also charged with treason. But as of July 2019, the charges were dropped again. 9 persons were discharged. By November 2019, there was a manhunt for Papavi, the leader of the group, because they could not find him and didn't know his whereabouts. In the same month, the Homeland Group emerged and declared independence few meters from a police regional school. We brought you that story. As of February this year, 21 members were arrested while training in that forest at Ketu. And as of March, the state dropped the cases against these people again. So you see a trend. And then after that, signpost emerged in the parts of the country. And today, we are seeing what happened. So the trend, which Joseph Akabley, our court correspondent, highlighted to us earlier today, was that there have been arrests, but consistently, the charges against these people have been dropped and they've been let go. Colonel Abwaje, I want to take your thoughts on that. Is this something that is empowering this group and making them even more brazen in their attempts at secessionism?
To start with, they would have been very well motivated to pursue this course of seceding from Ghana. So these are not small boys who don't know what they're about. They are very well or highly motivated. They may be prepared, indeed, in all likelihood, they are prepared to die for this cause. So when you're confronted with this kind of situation, look at other antecedent narratives elsewhere. One option that we chose to pursue was to arrest them, not prefer charges, or prefer charges, drop the charges, and set them free. Obviously, it hasn't worked. The other option, next time, or this time around, is to prosecute those individuals and send them to jail, to send a strong signal to them. We could, in future, as part of our strategy, grant them an amnesty and then release them as a good gesture. But we cannot and we shouldn't continue all the time to effect arrest and then allow them to go away, especially this time that they have shot and injured 2 police officers and almost taken over a vital installation. Right. And absconded with 10 weapons that as of now, the police has not told us that they have recovered those weapons.
Let's see if we can get some response. Let's see if we can get some response on the point you have raised, Colonel, from Dr. Letsa. Let me indicate that Mr. Emmanuel Bedra has joined us. We'll get to him shortly. But Dr. Letsa, You had the point that he made. The weapons that were taken away by this group, have we retrieved them?
So we are trying to retrieve them.
So we don't know. As of now, we have weapons in the hands of wrong people. We don't know where they are.
Actually, anything could have happened since the last time, since we closed from the meeting. So I'll find out and what the present situation is.
Okay, let me bring in Emmanuel Abedra. He is with the Volta Caucus. Sir, thank you so much for your time and for joining us. You are muted, sir. You are muted. If you can unmute for me on your phone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, and good evening to your cherished viewers and listeners. Good evening to my co-panelists, Dr. Letsa and Awaji.
So there's a statement. The police,
Go ahead, please.
The Volta, that's all right. The Volta Region Security Council is telling us that 99% of the people in the Volta region do not support this group. What do you make of all that has happened today, looking at where we started from as far back as 2017?
Thank you once again. I will extend it into 100%. Nobody supports an insurgency group, a group that is calling themselves Western Togoland. I was born in Ghana. I don't belong to any group or faction of people who decide to take this country to hostage. So yes, indeed, almost all of us do not support this group.
Okay, that's great. But there are concerns that there may be some political, lines being drawn in this. For you as a Volta Caucus, in Parliament, what do you see?
We still stand by the fact that we think that there's a conspiracy behind all this, because the writing has all been on the wall, the signal has all been on the wall. Just as you heard from the Regional Security Council chairperson, Dr. Letsa, they've all known that something of this nature has been going on. The person whoever was leading has been arrested some time back. He was released into the system. We know there are a few camps here and there that they have been training them. And all these things were signals that we picked long ago. They should have been, dealt with. Anyone who decides to take a country to ransom should be dealt with.
Okay.
Take for instance, my sister. There was this WhatsApp group few people on that WhatsApp group have been arrested for plotting coup. How come a group of people decide that we are taking this country for a ransom and decide that, yes, right, we are, there's a secession group, we are taking this country, a country out of a country.
And actually,
the group is still
existing. Actually, what we are hearing is that there are more. It's not just one group. But I've run out of time, unfortunately. But I need to take final words from each of you. So going forward, what can we do? What should we do? Should we engage this group? Some people say if you engage them, you give them legitimacy. Should we engage, or should we just show them state might? Like Kenal is saying, grab them, keep them in jail.
I would prefer that we show them state might. We should arrest them, prosecute them, because what they are doing is against the law.
Okay. Let me bring in Kenal Abuaje, your final statement on this. Should we engage, because there are thoughts that we can win the hearts and minds of these people? There is the potential of more recruitment. Can we engage, in a diplomatic way, or should we just descend on them?
In fact, I didn't say that we must only show them the might of the state. Indeed, whether we like it or not, we need to engage with them. Because the study of all insurgencies, at least in the African continent, is that at some stage, you need to sit around the table. So the military response alone is not going to work.
Okay.
Any security response by itself will not restore calm in that region. And talking to them is not legitimizing them. That's how we dealt with Charles Taylor. That if you talk to Charles Taylor, you are legitimizing him. In the long run, we sat with Charles Taylor, gave him all the presidential perquisites, and negotiated with him.
So for you, we should do both.
We need to talk to this group, or how many groups that there are, as part of the strategy.
Okay.
Of course, we could weigh them and determine how we sequence the different lines of action.
Okay.
But negotiation dialogue should be one of the critical components of the resolution to this dilemma.
Thank you so much, sir. Let me give the final word to Dr. Archibald Letsa. Doc, we're wrapping up. You've heard all that they have said. What is the Security Council going to do? From where you sit, which one is most feasible? Engage or dissent?
Thank you very much. I think that I agree with my brother, Honorable Bejira. I think we have to apply the law and enforce the law and bring the perpetrators of this act to book. Okay. Right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. It's been short, but very insightful. A lot of information out there. We'll continue this discussion next week, even from tomorrow on Newsfile. I've been having this conversation with Dr. Archibald Letsa, who is the Volta Regional Minister, also leads the Security Council for the region. Thank you, Doc. And also had Emmanuel Bedra of the Volta Caucus also joining us as well. My security expert for tonight has been Colonel Festus Abwaji, retired. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been the special edition of PM Express, focusing on security. I'm Gifty Andopia.